My name is Frank Parsons, and I own a fishing store called TackleTown near Lake Norman, North Carolina. And I'm here today to explain to you how to fish a jigging spoon. Now, these are examples of jigging spoons that we use. You can see that clearly. That's a good one there. We use that a lot. That's a 1 ounce jigging spoon. This one is a gold Hopkins spoon that we've altered by adding an eye and adding a hook on the top. We do little things like that. Now here's another one with a different kind of hooks. This one is about 4 inches long and is a good copy of the owlwhites that are in Lake Norman. Here's a couple of other spoons that were popular and that we use a lot. This is the white one, and this is a chartreuse or fire tiger colored one. Now these spoons, we're just tying on with 10-pound line. You don't want to get any bigger than that. And you use a medium heavy 100% graphite rod. And the first method is fishing vertically on the bottom. Now what you do is you go along in your boat and you watch your graph, looking for balls of bait that are in contact with the bottom. And then you want to see that there's arches on top of those baits so that you know there's fish on those bait. So you're going to go along there and watch for those arches. Now you want your graph set at the highest speed so you can see them as soon as possible. And if you're seeing fish symbols on your graph, then you want to change it to manual so you can see arches and balls of bait. Now as soon as you see a good ball of bait and has arches on it come up on your graph, now one of the tricks that we use is we take a spoon that we have tied on a rod. I keep it in my hand when I'm graphing, and I take that spoon and I throw it out the back of the boat right in the middle of the wake, far enough back there so it'll go past the bait that I saw on the graph. It's going to fall to the bottom, and the line that's tied to it will lay right across the top of the bait, but we just went over them and we see them on the graph. Alright, now I stop my big engine, turn around with my trolling motor so I don't make a big circle, and I just follow my line back to that spoon. Well, that's going to take me directly back to the bait, so I don't have to turn around and go looking and maybe not find the bait at all. You got to remember that the bait is moving in whichever way the wind is blowing, because it creates a current and they usually move right along with it a little bit. So you have to move along with them as you fish over them. Now, basically you're taking the spoon, you're getting directly over that 10 or 12 foot circle you're seeing on your graph, and that's if you have a 23 standard cone degree on your transducer. Alright, at 35 or 40 feet you're looking at a circle about 10 feet. And you have to be directly over it. You can't be 10 feet over here or there. You can actually be over it at the front of the boat and not be over it with the back of the boat. That's how critical it is. Alright, you drop your spoons all the way to the bottom. Make sure they hit the bottom. Pick the spoon up 4 or 5 feet quickly to get their attention, and then stay with the spoon on the fall. You don't just let it flutter, because you can't feel it when they hit it. And you also have to watch your spoon as it falls, because they may take it and you don't feel anything. You just know it didn't get to the bottom. So you go ahead and set the hook and you'll get them. Alright, now that's the number one method. Now you got to remember these fish are moving and you want to stay on top of them. So what you do is you take your spoon and you just toss it in front of your boat, maybe 10 feet, let it go down. Now your boat's moving a little bit towards it, so you're slowly going to get one pull, and the next pull it's a little closer to you. Now it's under you, and it's under you, and now it's starting to get behind you. You get a couple more pulls, and then you're going to have to reel it up and toss it in front of you again. That way you can stay vertical as you go along with the fish. You want to think vertical with the spoons. You want to stay on top of them and not have them off at angle under you. Alright? So, and you should be able to catch fish quickly if you get on top of the right kind of fish. There's no waiting around with this. They're down there feeding. You drop the spoons down, And if they're doing their thing, then probably within 2 or 3 minutes, you're probably going to have a bite. If you mess around 10 or 15 minutes, you're not getting any bites, then those fish just aren't active, and you need to go find another ball of bait with arches on it. Okay, that's the number one method. And the easiest way to find them usually is just pay attention to which way the wind's been blowing. Go into any cove that the wind's been blowing into off the main river, and stay in the center. And you're going to be coming out of deep water like 40 or 50 feet and coming into shallower water. And when you get to about 40 feet, you should start seeing bait, and it may be anywhere from 40 to 28 feet. Somewhere in there is where you usually see these white perch hanging. And the bass will be with them, feeding on them, and stripers can be with them too, feeding on them. So you're catching 3 or 4 different species with this spoon, or more than that actually. It'll catch just about everything down there. Alright, so now another method is when you have individual bass feeding on the surface. So you see a swirl, 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 but the fish aren't breaking the surface. You're just individual fish are attacking threadfin shad usually on the surface. And so you know there are fish there feeding. Well, you don't want to spook them, so you stay back over 100 feet. That's one of the beauties of these spoons. You can throw them a mile. So you stay way back where you're not spooking the fish. You throw it over on the other side. You let it sink 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. You pull it back up to the surface. Then it's 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. Back to the surface. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. And he's going to be on there when you come up with it. Because he's going to bite it when it's falling, and you won't feel it because you're reeling down to it. That's one of the very few times you ever fish a spoon when you can't feel it. Alright, and we sat out there and caught like 30 bass in 25 minutes doing that just off the pontoon. So it's a really effective method. Alright, another one is when you have birds diving and the fish are frenziedly feeding on bait. And so then you want to, again, stay back 100 feet or more so you don't spook them. That's the beauty of these spoons, is you can stay back so far, where the average person is getting too close to them with the lures they're trying to use, and they're spooking the fish down. But you can stay way back, throw the spoon over to those frantically schooling fish, and just let it fall about 10 or 12 inches. Pick it up, let it fall about 10 or 12 inches, read just a little bit like that, and just work it through there. Give it a present a fall. You always have to present a fall for them to eat the spoon. And they will eat it as good as anything you can throw over there, and you can stay back farther than anything else. Alright, that'd be like method 2. Now, or 3, there it is. Now, another thing you see is when you have like 6 or 8 or 10 birds flying around and just kind of flying. One will dive, and they'll fly around a couple of minutes, and one will dive, and maybe nothing will happen for 5 minutes, and one will dive. Well, when that's happening, the fish are feeding under those birds at 25 to 40 feet usually, and pieces are floating up to the surface. And those birds are diving on them. Well, that tells you that you have active fish feeding right there. So all you have to do is run right underneath those birds, drop your spoon straight down to the bottom, and you're probably not even going to get it off the bottom if the fish have got it on the way down because they're feeding there. Alright, that's another method. Now, another method is you can go to the bridge pilings, like on Lake Norman at Slanton Bridge or the railroad bridge over there in Mountain Creek, and you want to go over these locations after 9 or 9:30 when the fish have moved off the bank and the morning bite slowed, and you can go over there, and now here's the bridge and here's the little pilings. Well, you want to get on the end of the piling, and you have to have a bait caster where you can put your thumb on top of the reel on the line, and you just take your spoon and you toss it over to the bridge piling where it's within 10 or 12 inches of the bridge piling. Now, because you're sitting on the end, even though that bait's going to do a pendulum, it's going to stay 10 or 12 inches from the wall. And all you have to do is let that spoon fall, and when it gets down to about 18 to 21 feet, thump, he's got it. You reel him in, throw back over, thump, you can get another one, thump, you can catch 4 or 5, go on the other side of that piling, thump, 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 go down to the next piling and catch a couple. I mean, if they're in there like that, you can have 10 fish in 15 or 20 minutes. It's not uncommon. And then we also tried that on deep pier posts where you got 25 or 30 feet on the front of a pier, and you just toss your spoon up to the pier post, let it fall down the side of it, and they'll have it right as it takes off at the bottom, where you'll feel a thump. Now, this is most all the method that you need to go out and catch with the rattling jigging spoons that we sell at TackleTown. And you'll find that the jigging spoon is probably the deadliest thing in a fishing tackle store. Now another trick we do is take a sabiki rig, which is some little gold hooks that have glow-in-the-dark wings and a glow-in-the-dark bead. They're just like little small gold hooks. You don't have to put any bait on them, and you put about, they come 4 on a rig, and you put them on top of your spoon, and it attracts the white perch, the crappie, and the spotted bass. Even the largemouth will eat those little gold hooks with no bait on them. So you can literally catch 3 or 4 fish at a time with that method. You come down to TackleTown, we'll show you how to rig all this stuff up and show you which spoons are the best ones, and you can have a lot of fun going out on Lake Norman or any other lake. And they also work in the saltwater. We've got them clear up to 4 ounces. They have 2 glass rattles in them. So come on in and see us.